So let's talk about some frequently asked questions. So how do you deal with personal conveyance? So Chrissy, I kind of want to go over each one of these and have you answer the questions. So if I'm a carrier and I'm dealing with drivers, or if I'm a driver, how would I deal with personal conveyance on ELD systems?
Well, there's multiple ways, especially depending on what service provider you have. So, for example, Keep Trucking. Us as the admin, we need to go in and allow that driver to use personal conveyance. Now, the biggest thing I've noticed with personal conveyance when people start using it, your system is set up to automatically have you do a pre and post trip inspection every day, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you're just starting off on a Monday and you're running personal conveyance all day and you're not working, if you go through and do that pre or post trip, it's automatically going to kick you on to on duty, not driving. So your clock has now started. So you have to ensure that you're technically not documenting that pre and post trip inspection. Now, don't get me wrong, I require all my drivers, whether they're using their truck for PT or whatever, they have to do their walkarounds, they have to do their inspections. But you do have to keep that in mind. If it kicks them on to on duty, not driving, their clock has started. If they have done an inspection report, you as a motor carrier cannot go back through and suddenly say they're off duty because they cannot be off duty while they're doing those. But the biggest thing is the driver needs to log in and tell the system when their personal conveyance starts and when their personal conveyance ends. I have so many customers and clients who just choose not to log in because they're on personal time. And then suddenly they have all these different driving events and mileage and hours of unassigned vehicle mileage that they don't want to assign back to their driver because it's going to mess up their clock. So the biggest thing is start off your training correct from the beginning. Ensure that you on the admin side understand how your drivers need to be set up to log personal conveyance and how your drivers need to do that, and then train your drivers before you send them out and expect them to log that correctly. There's so much room for error on that personal conveyance. It's very simple to log, but the smallest thing is going to start your clock and there's no turning back.
So how would I hire as a carrier? How am I going to hire or handle the short haul exemptions and when I'm doing short haul? So maybe as a carrier, sometimes I'm doing short haul and I qualify for timesheets, but then other times, every great once in a while, or maybe once a week, I actually go outside of that 100 or 150 air mile radius, and now I have to revert back to an ELD system. What happens if I'm on short haul using timesheets, but the vehicle itself that I'm driving has an ELD system in it? How would I handle those short haul versus the ELD system provisions?
So this is a very common question. We run into this all the time, all across the industry, no matter what you're hauling. So this is where it will start to get confusing for people. And I always tell them first off, these ELDs go off the vehicle. So if that vehicle has exceeded the 8 days and now you've installed the ELD in it, no matter who the driver is, they need to be logging into the system. Now, as far as what rule set that driver needs to follow, some systems are set up where you can set it for short haul, and then if the driver exceeds the 12 hours or the 100 or 150 air miles, it will automatically convert them to the over the road, the 11 and 14. However, there's other systems that will not do that. It will just begin to flag those violations. So you want to be very, very aware of what you have upcoming in your dispatches. Sometimes it's very simple to go ahead and switch that driver's rule set, not the vehicle, switch the driver's rule set to run short haul. Just be prepared if they exceed that. You need to make sure that driver knows he needs to be taking a 30-minute break. Because if during an audit it's flagging it as a violation, but you can prove that your driver has switched to the 11, the 14, the rest break, the 70 and 8 days, if you can prove that, you're not going to actually get the violation. But if your driver exceeds the 12 hours and didn't take a 30-minute break, boom, you have that violation.
Exactly.
I always encourage motor carriers that if they do feel like the driver or the truck will be switching back and forth between short haul and over the road, is to just pick and stick with it because it's going to start to confuse you, your drivers, the inspectors, the auditors, trying to bounce between those rule sets. So if you know once a week that that driver and that truck's going to be going outside the 100 or 150 air miles or over the 12-hour workday, just set them on federal regs over the road right from the start. The only difference is really they're going to have to take that 30-minute break. And I don't know of any driver that in a 12 to 14-hour workday doesn't stop and grab a cheeseburger or go to the bathroom. So it's things that can be easily avoided with proper training and especially planning ahead on your day. If your driver knows he's going to be stopping at the Flying J off of 321 to get fuel, just take your 30-minute break after you're done getting fuel. Save yourself the extra 20 minutes of pulling off, finding a parking spot, and doing all that. Over time, your driver will start to learn how to utilize the system. Most drivers, when they've been on ELDs for more than 6 months, they favor ELDs because they're not having to write out the log. They're not having to do the calculation and make the math errors. So I would just try to find a rule set and stick with it. I do have plenty of carriers who half their fleet is on short haul and half of them are on over the road. Just find out what your operational needs are, work with your provider to find the best solution, but be willing to change when it's needed.
Got it. I totally agree. So what about oil and construction? So with oil field and construction, both of those have the first part of the 24-hour restart, but then there's the second part. On construction side, there's a second part, as well as there's a second part on the oil field well site waiting time. So how does those ELD systems handle oil and gas or construction companies?
It's a very, very easy rule set. Right away, in any ELD provider that I've seen, you're going to go through and you're going to set up your company preferences. Some of them do it under the driver profile. Some of them will do it under the company's profile. You just have to go in and let the system know that you qualify for oil field exemption. Just keep in mind, your system doesn't know your operations. It doesn't know if you meet all the requirements off of it. You're just telling them that's the rules that you're following. So ensure that you actually do qualify for those oil field exemptions. Make sure you qualify for the construction exemptions. And if you do, it's a very simple rule set that you just program in on either the driver or the company profile.
Got it. So let's talk about some backend settings. So here is the Geo tab. Here's their settings on like oil, well site waiting time. And if you notice on here, it has, here's the rule set. You're on the 70-hour 8-day. And there's typically a drop down that'll show the 60 7-day. And then on this one, it does have this separated out. So yes, you qualify for the 24-hour restart, but you have to pick, I qualify for both oil well site waiting time and the 24-hour. You have to do both. And that's what I like about GeoTab is that it has that separated out because not all systems do. And then it has, your terminals and things like that, yard moves, all of that. So what about, can the data collected be edited?
So this is usually how, so yes, it can. However, back to what I was saying before, drive time. You never want to edit drive time because it shows the truck was moving. Now, the really nice advantage in between the AOBRDs and the ELDs is now with the ELDs, drivers do have the ability to go back and edit their on-duty and off-duty time. So for the instant where the driver forgets to log off for his 30-minute break or log off when he comes back to the yard, he can easily go back through and navigate that and let the system know that he was actually off duty, not on duty. As far as the motor carrier goes, on our back end, absolutely, we can make these edits, we can make these adjustments. However, it's a huge thing that I let everybody know. If you do go through and switch somebody from on duty to off duty, add your editor comment and let them know why. Driver forgot to log off when returned to the yard, confirmed by GPS location. Driver was on 30-minute break at the Love's truck stop in wherever it may be. Go in and add those notes because you want to cover your butt saying why you've adjusted those drivers' hours. Because again, in a worst case scenario, whether it be litigation, audit, if they're seeing, oh, every single day you're auditing or you're editing on those hours, they're going to want to exactly know why, and they're going to want answers to it. You're not going to remember why you might have edited John's hours 5 months ago, that Tuesday morning when he was here. So please ensure you're adding your comments. You're notating why you've made that change, and then it's easy for you to go back and reference and explain to yourself. Same with your drivers. If your system is set up where your driver does go back and edit his on-duty and off-duty time, have your driver take the 2 seconds it takes to put in the remark, forgot to log off duty for my lunch at Love's or whatever it may have been. Because again, the driver's not going to remember that. And then you as the motor carrier, you're also going to want to know why your driver was taking his hours.
Got it.
Even ones that are listed on the FMCSA's approved vendor list, it's seriously just a self-certification any vendor can do. So I could go through tomorrow and create a beautiful little user manual and just fill out this little form and send it in. It takes 2 seconds. But until somebody, when you find those ELD companies that are not compliant, until these motor carriers are taking the time to report these companies to the FMCSA, they'll stay on that list. And it's your responsibility as a motor carrier to first check and make sure they're on the list, and then make sure they're correct. They're getting the things that are required by the FMCSA. And if they're not, you need to switch your vendor or whoever you're getting it from, and then take the little bit of time to report it from the FMCSA to save that next motor carrier the same headache you went through. I've seen that a lot. I've went in and helped do cleanups. I went in to help do audit preps where we pull these reports, we see these things. It's letting drivers suddenly change drive time. A driver should never, ever be able to change a drive time. And then you call them and they can't tell you why, and they're not willing to help you resolve the issue. So just make sure you're doing your due diligence and ensuring that your violations are correct, the drive times are correct, you're able to pull those reports we mentioned. If you're not, get with their tech support. If they can't help you resolve it, find a new software to use.
Absolutely. So in order to go, we put the website on here. It's csa.fmcsa.dot.gov. I hate their websites. They're not user friendly. So I would type it in just like this, /ELD/list. This will get you to the place where you can see if they're on the registry. But like Chrissy said, it doesn't matter if they're on the registry. She can, do something, say, I'm going to be on the registry. They don't vet you. The FMCSA is never going to vet anybody. All, like she said, they're self-certifying. So they lie. And that's just what it is. So let's talk about